Hello, everybody. My name is Ravi Kumar from the Partner Sales Engineering team at Snowflake. Here at Snowflake, I manage the technical relationships for all partners, cybersecurity, security, and observability. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how Snowflake Horizon helps and enables customers to secure and govern their most important asset, their data. And we'll focus on the data team's persona today.
But before we jump in, let's take a fictitious company that's looking to apply governance across their enterprise assets, understand their challenges and objectives, and explore how Snowflake Horizon can really help them. Acme Corp. Acme is a fictitious drug manufacturing company from one of the regulated industries, life sciences and healthcare. They use Snowflake as their data cloud platform for most of their data needs. Their stakeholders that deal with data, like this chief data officer and the governance committee, are tasked with ensuring that their data, AI models, applications, and all their important assets are managed effectively and must ensure that the quality, security, and the compliance are ensured. At the same time, it shouldn't cause the consumers having to jump through hoops to get to it. Some of their key objectives that they are accountable for are shown here as well, like privacy, visibility, preventing silos, etc. So how does Snowflake ensure that the data is indeed compliant and protected? Snowflake enables Acme Corp to unify all their data across the systems, understand the data by discovering, classifying, and enriching data, and also secure the data, allowing Acme to govern their entire data and AI estate. With Snowflake AI, Acme Corp will be able to govern the data and assets across all the workloads that are deployed on Snowflake, including SQL and analytics, apps, AI and ML, Snowpark, and data engineering. So let's see how Snowflake does it. Snowflake Horizon. Horizon is a built-in solution that provides capabilities across 5 pillars. Compliance. As part of compliance, Snowflake has comprehensive certifications including FedRAMP Moderate, FedRAMP High, SOC 1, and many more. Enables Acme Corp to monitor data quality with both out-of-the-box and custom metrics. Enables business continuity, where Acme Corp can replicate and fail over databases, shares, role-based access controls, and a lot more across regions and all the hyperscalers, AWS, Azure, and GCP. The second pillar, security. Features from security pillar, Acme Corp can actually secure the data with many of the capabilities enabled by Snowflake Horizon, such as encryption, authentication, network policies, database roles, tri-secret secure, a lot more. And of course, the newly introduced Trust Center. So Trust Center is our newest capability that detects vulnerabilities and violations as defined by the Center for Internet Security, CIS for short. Let's look at the privacy pillar. With features as part of the privacy pillar, Acme Corp can unlock the value of their data that is sensitive and with advanced privacy policies and data clean rooms. Interoperability. With interoperability, Acme Corp can maximize their existing data investments and better manage their entire data estate by using this pillar. But there are so many pre-built Snowflake integrations by our leading partners across data governance, security, and observability space. Further, Acme can also use iceberg tables that makes Snowflake very flexible. So Acme and other customers can easily leverage Snowflake's performance and features for data they prefer to store outside the platform. Access pillar. And so finally, the access pillar. Customers can easily discover, classify, and share the data, enabling them to act immediately, right? There are several features here, which are like universal search, an LLM-powered search tool to quickly discover and access relevant data and apps across databases, tables, views, schema, procedures, and more. Data and app sharing. You can share direct access to live data and native applications across accounts, regions, and clouds without ever having to do additional ETL or integration work. Copilot. This is LLM powered, where an analyst can ask a question and it'll write a SQL query using the relevant tables. And finally, the marketplace. Lets you share apps, data, and models. Let's look at Snowflake Horizon in action and see how it helps the various personas at Acme that deal with the data when it comes to governance. On the left, you see all the typical personas, and on the right, you see the governance workflow. A data engineer would focus on getting the data loaded into Snowflake, and in addition, also ensure that the quality of the data is good and have it sent back to the source if it requires remediation. Typically, this would involve activities like data profiling, cleansing, standardizing, etc. Now, once the data is loaded, a data governor, data steward, identifies and remediates any issues from a business perspective. Are there duplicates in the data? Is the data conforming to governance rules, etc.? Now, moving forward, a data consumer or an owner would then consume the data for their business needs. And finally, the IT admin would be responsible to ensure that the data is absolutely secure. And in addition, here are some of the responsibilities within the purview of each persona. Now, having said that, let's see how the various capabilities from Snowflake Horizon that you see on the bottom enables governance across this flow. Okay, so as you can see, the various capabilities from Snowflake Horizon can be applied to every single step of the governance. Now, while this is a typical workflow, it can absolutely be applied to a more complex workflow as well.
In this demo, we are going to be focusing on the data team, so data owner persona. With that, let's get into the demo. Welcome to Snowflake Horizon demo for a data team's persona. Don't forget to check out our other videos showcasing how Horizon enables other personas. Now, coming to data teams play a very crucial role when it comes to maintaining data governance by using data responsibly, respecting security and privacy. So let's see how Snowflake Horizon helps put the right checks and balances to ensure that the users aren't misusing the data. Now, as a user, I typically start with a search. I'll be using the new feature called Universal Search. Now, this Universal Search is an LLM-powered search tool to quickly discover and access relevant data and apps across databases, schema, tables, views, functions, and a lot of other objects. Okay, so what I'm going to do as a user, and if you notice on the bottom left, I'm using the role called Analyst Read Only. Okay, so I'm going to go into the search and I'm going to type customer. You can see all the various types of objects that it found that has the name customer in it. I can also click on these various categories and just look for tables and views that have the name customer in it. So when I click on tables and views, I see customer table, customer underscore loyalty table, and so forth. Right? Similarly, if you click on databases, anything that has a name customer in it. Again, functions and procedures, none of them, or data products, there are probably a few that has customers. So let's go back to the tables and views. And as you can see, there is a table called customer, which is exactly what I would like to look at. I'm going to click on the customer table, and it takes me to the definition of that table. Right here are the table details, the tags, and the privileges that this table has. Now, when I go to the data preview, as you can see, let me make some space here. As you can see, I can look at all the data or the preview of the data in this table. Now, there's an imminent problem here, right? I can see that all the fields, including demographic details, the PII data, email, SSN, birth date, credit card, all this information is in clear text, which is clearly a no-no, right? So we need to make sure that these sensitive columns and PII columns are secured from parties that aren't supposed to be exposed to it. Okay, so we'll be securing the data in a couple different ways. The data in this table can be secured at a row level or at a column level. Okay, a row level, as the name indicates, the entire row can be hidden based on certain conditions, or apply the column level security to mask certain columns. And within column level security, we have what's called a static data masking or dynamic data masking. Static data masking is essentially modifying data at rest. So this is where your tokenization comes into play, right? You tokenize the data before it's loaded into Snowflake and detokenize it at the time of running a query, as opposed to dynamic data masking, which is used to selectively mask columns at runtime. So let's look at a demo. Now, given that I have to apply masking policies, I need to switch my role to governance admin, right? I'm going to be using the role governance admin. As you saw, the database name was DG_DB. I'm setting the context here, and the schema is going to be data, and I'll be using one of the warehouses. All right, we'll be looking at dynamic data masking right now, which is, like I said, a column level security. Within dynamic data masking, let's first look at conditional masking, where you basically specify a condition to say whether or not the data should be displayed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be creating a masking policy for PII. It's very simple. As you can see the syntax here, create or replace masking policy, mask PII. What I'm saying is, if the current role of the user who's querying is either account admin or governance admin, then do not mask the data. If not, basically mask it with this string. And this string could be anything. I chose to give PII masked. Okay, so I'm going to be creating that masking policy. I created the masking policy called mask underscore PII. Similarly, I'd like to create another one, a tag for a masking policy for sensitive data. Very similar. Okay, so I created two masking policies. One is mask PII and mask sensitive. What's the second step? Second step is to apply these masking policies to appropriate columns. So as you can see here, I'm setting the mask PII policy to social security number and the birth date. And the sensitive mask underscore sensitive masking policy, I'm applying it to the credit card. Okay. All right. So let's go apply it. Okay, I'm done. Now what I'm doing is I'm basically retrieving the data from that table. As you can see, I can still see all the data in clear text. And the reason is because if you look at the top here, I'm using governance admin, right? Let's see what would happen if I were to switch the role to analyst read-only role. There we go. I'm going to use a warehouse, and now I'll go select the data. Let's see what happens here. Now, if I scroll to the right, I see that the social security number and the birth date are masked because, as you can see here, I've masked it with the mask underscore PII, and now I am not able to read those. Similarly, if you recollect, I applied the mask underscore sensitive masking policy to the credit card column, which is why I see as sensitive. And the same is the effect if I go back to the table here and I do a refresh and I select warehouse. And if I scroll to the right, there we go, right? The social security number and birth date masked, being a PII, and credit card number masked with the second masking policy that I created. Okay, this is great. Let's switch back to the governance underscore admin role. Now what I'm going to do is I'd like to create a conditional policy, another one. In this case, I'm basically saying, create a conditional policy called conditional policy demo. And what I'm saying is, for the phone number and opt-in flag are going to be the two inputs. If the opt-in flag is Y, which means that the user would like to is opting in, then return the phone number as is. If the opt-in number is not equal to Y, then mask it as opt-out. Okay, let's apply that. Okay, now if you recollect, I go back to the table and there's the column called opt-in that has multiple different values. Yes and no are the two values, right? All right, great. I just created the conditional policy. What's the next thing I got to do? I basically need to apply to the column phone number. So here you go. All I'm doing is basically altering that table and applying that particular masking policy to the column phone number using phone number and the opt-in fields, because those are the two input fields created. Okay. And now when I search for, when I select for phone number and opt-in, as you can see, regardless of who I am right now, meaning the role, governance admin, if it's a yes, I can see it, which means they have opted in. And if they're opted out, then I see that the value is masked, or it shows basically opted out, right? So these are the two different types of, you can check the role and take an action, or basically look at the condition or a flag or another input variable and be able to set your masking policy. So now let's move on to tag-based policies. Okay, now let's say there's a scenario where there are a number of fields where you need to set masking policy. It's very time consuming to be able to apply the masking policy to every single column. Okay, instead, what you can do is you can apply tag-based policies. What you do is essentially you group all the columns that share a common behavior into a tag, and then apply the masking policy to the tag. So here we go. I'm going to be creating a tag called PII call, which is basically indicating that it's a PII column. And the two values that the PII column tag can have is PII data and non-PII. Okay, so I created a tag, and I'm going to be applying this particular tag to various columns from last name, street address, city, state, and as you can see, I'm applying all these, the same tag with the value for the tag as it is PII data. All right, great. Let's apply it. Done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a masking policy where I'm saying if the tag, get tag on the current column, if the tag on the current column in question is PII call, and the value for the tag is PII data, right? Then mask it. Okay, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I created the masking policy, and all I got to do is I have to alter the tag in this case, right? And apply the masking policy. Okay, so now I applied the masking policy called PII data mask to the tag called PII call. All right, so let's switch the role to analyst read only, and I'd like to search some fields. Here we go. First name, last name, street, city, state. All of them are masked. As you can see, I applied the masking policy only once to the tag, and the tag basically was grouping all the columns that shared the common traits. Okay, let's switch back to governance_admin and do a select again. I should be able to see all the views, all the columns. Sorry. Right. I'm gonna unset all the columns. Now, the other thing that I would like to talk about is the power of Horizon, right? It's very important to note that Horizon just doesn't govern the data that's within your account. The power of Horizon is that even if the data is being shared from your account to another account that's in different region or across a different cloud, the governance policies move along with the data, as long as the data is within Snowflake ecosystem, right? So let's see how that is done. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into another worksheet. There we go. So again, I'm going to set the context that I've been doing in the previous demo as well. Governance admin, DGDB, and data is my schema. I'm creating a share, right, called cust_share. There we go. I created a share called customer_share. And I'm basically granting usage on database and the schema and the table customer to that cust_share so that when I share this, the consumer should be able to view or look at the data in the table customer. Okay, let's describe this share. You can see these are the three objects: database, schema, and the table are the only three objects that have been granted to the share. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this cust_share with another account. Okay. All right, let's do that. Okay, this means this particular consumer can now look at this particular share that I have shared. All right, let's look at the current account. As you can see, this is my current account is FXB. Okay, I'm going to go into another tab here and look at what is the account here. Here we go. So this is the consumer account, which is different from where I had created the share. Okay, I'm going to be using another role here. If I have the database, I drop it, which I do not. And I'm now creating a database, a shared database, right? From the share that was shared to me in the previous instance. All right, I'm going to use that cust_share, set the schema as shared, and I'm going to describe. And let me search for so let me retrieve the data from the table called customer. Here we go. As I scroll to the right, if you recollect, this opt-in masking policy came over, as well as the masking policy for SSN, birth date, and credit card, which I did not set it in the consumer, right? All these masking policies were set as part of the provider itself. So as you can see, it's really powerful You set it once and the governance moves along with the data. Great. So we looked at Universal Search, which is an LLM-powered search tool that searches across database, schema, tables, and many other objects. And we also saw the power of Snowflake Horizon in providing the right entitlements for the sensitive PII and other data that needs to be secured, enabling the data users essentially to collaborate with the data seamlessly. We hope you like the video, and we'd like you to check out the other videos as well, where we show how Snowflake enables and works with other personas that interact with the data. Thank you.